Here I am, my baby gorilla's with Ken Thomson. Now we were talking to Sovereignty, and what was it?
David McCutcheon.
David McCutcheon, a lovely fella as well. We really enjoyed our conversation with David as well. And Dave talked about 5 or 6 parties that Sovereignty were involved with. And do you want to just describe who you are and what political entity you are and what relationship it is with Dave?
David, yeah. Certainly we're the ADF, the Alliance for Democracy and Freedom Party. It was set up with 5 ex-UKIP members who was kind of slightly disillusioned with UKIP and the direction of travel, and so we appointed Dr. Thomson as leader.
I was going to have a chat with him. I never get round to having a chat. I'll try and get a chat with him.
He's up in Scotland at the end of the month, actually.
Is he? Well, we may try and organise something then.
Do that, yeah. So he's a doctor, GP, 40 years, studied in Glasgow, studied in England universities as well, and also Cardiff. I think he did a law degree in Cardiff. So really excellent, sound guy, totally desperate to try and sort out the problems with the NHS. Is his kind of main
thing. He was very sound in that, and he was making a lot of sense on the COVID jabs as well.
Absolutely, but he's a very strong patriot. Really. Patriot. He's originally from Malaysia. But came here and he was a student.
Very much integrated and very much passionate about the UK.
When it was part of the Empire of Malaysia. And he's been a really sound voice of reason for a long time, and I followed him back to join the party. And one of his main themes was to unite parties who basically are like-minded and think in the same way.
Yeah.
A lot of them are,
like a lot of them are,
others. So we tried to unite those. We got kind of rejected from the main big ones like SDP, Reform, we had a bit of a flirtation with UKIP. But we've joined up with English Democrats, Sovereignty Party, the Populist Party, putting Crew first, another small local party.
What's who?
Putting Crew first.
Alright, okay, so it's a local party.
Councillor Brian Sylvester runs that one, and they've been very successful in penetrating the councils and challenging the mainstream parties. So they've done very well. So this group, we call it the Belmont, so the Belmont Declaration. So it's the Belmont group at the moment, and they're working together to run in all elections, council elections.
So are they going to coordinate policy then? Is it like a coordination of policy? And are you going to actually eventually merge?
Well, I'm not.
It's a wee bit difficult because Sovereignty are actually a nationalist party. They're the only proper nationalist parties. And if you're dealing with unionist entities, that's going to be a bit difficult to reconcile.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure downwind of that, the policy could work.
We'd much rather support a sensible nationalist party like Sovereignty as opposed to SNP or horrendous Alba, who are just a bit as bad. Whereas Sovereignty are really a cracking nationalist party who've got the right idea about pretty much everything. The COVID stuff, everything that's going on, they're on it. The deputy leader's here. Deputy leader Salty Moira Brown's here. She's supporting Jim's campaign very well. And so they're doing a good job in Scotland. They are nationalists, which I'm a unionist personally, but I'd like to see United Kingdom sorted out if it can be sorted out. But the signs are that it's more and more going to be difficult to do that with the deep state that we've got in the UK. So that's where we're at with that.
What's the policies of the actual Alliance for Democracy and Freedom? Where are you in the political spectrum, do you think?
Well, I think obviously I was the chairman in Fife and Mid Scotland for UKIP for a few years.
I did a 3-hour interview with Donald. It was very interesting.
Yeah, Donald's a good guy.
It was an interesting interview.
Yeah.
Those long form interviews are great for actually getting to nail down where they are. It was very interesting to see UKIP as a centre at the time, under Donald, as a centrist political entity.
Yeah,
described as far right as usual.
Yeah, I was at UKIP for a few years and chairman of Fife and Mid Scotland, and some of the best people, really great people who really cared about what was happening in the country were involved with that in Fife. So I'm now.
What's your role just now then?
I am the Scottish leader.
Are you?
Yeah, Scottish leader.
Are you going to come on and do your 3-hour interview then?
We'll do that, David.
Yeah, that's great. So we'll have a long form chat. We'll do the political compass test.
Absolutely.
And we'll find out where we are in the political spectrum. Yep. I would suspect you're probably similar to UKIP in the positioning on the compass.
I think they probably are, yeah. I mean, UKIP, they've gone quite Christian fundamental.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Which
They're
I'm not against.
a wee bit like not as, I would say, they're a wee bit more fundamentalist than the Family Party, but I would say that the Family Party's a wee bit, and there I think a lot of the guys out of UKIP as well, funnily enough.
I don't think that's a bad shout at all. I don't think it's a good look shouting at immigrants, you're going home. You know, I thought that was a bit much. You know. It's not my style.
You're kidding, no.
I'm really up for that. Yeah, but I mean, there's obviously UKIP have got a lot of good policies, and reform really is a bit of a dodgy subject. You know, they're rising to the floor. They're hitting us small parties pretty hard. Yeah. If Farage hadn't come back, we'd be doing a lot better.
Well, I told Farage to come back.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Right. So I said, and I told him when to come back. I told him to come back earlier than he did. Right. To get, and I think he would have got more actual seats at that point if he came back earlier.
He might well have done, because Tice was driving, wasn't
well, no, he was staying solid about 12% or something like that. But I told Tice to move to the side, and had Tice dug his heels in, he wouldn't have been elected. And because I had said it, and I'm sure people are watching my channel higher up the political spectrum, or the political poll, that I told him to come back. He did come back, and then they obviously won the 5, and now they're sitting top of the polls. Yeah. So it's probably down to me, Ken.
Must be. Has to be.
Yes, truly. Well, I don't think anybody else was asking me to come. Well, no. I don't think anybody was saying to him to come back in that point. I should have. Nigel should be making me something. But no, I think he should have come back sooner. But because he came back, we got the fact he got elected. I also told him to actually identify a seat where he would actually win, because he tried to get elected. And who's the guy that funds him? Aaron Banks. So Aaron Banks did a poll and identified. And they did that, and they won. So that was two things I'd said before they happened on the GTC, which is documented, and it happened, and it was successful. And now they're sitting at 30%, and look like they're going to win the next election.
They do indeed, they're really running away with it. But we do have some doubts. Well, quite a lot of doubts.
I think there's doubts about policy.
Yeah, absolutely. What policy? If you look at the website, there's no policy. It's only whatever Farage says that's out there. He seems to make it up on the hoof, whereas we have a set of policies on the website.
Well, I think he's clever. I was thinking it's made up on the hoof,
but I think it
keeps it fluid, and it's harder to tie it down. And I also told them to identify policy that was going to play well to the red wall, which he's done. So everything I've said that's documented, he's done. And one of the things that they didn't do in the left was, I said that George Galloway should reach out to what's his face? Who's Uncle Harold, Uncle Albert, Uncle Harold.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Jeremy Corbyn. And I told him to reach out to Jeremy Corbyn, bring Jeremy Corbyn into the Workers' Party before the last election, which they didn't do. And they then didn't win any seats. But had Corbyn gone to the Workers' Party, it would have been transformational to the Workers' Party. I would have said at that time, because he's still a bit of sway. And now he's talking about making up another party.
Corbyn.
So so there's going to be the Workers' Party, Corbyn's Party, the Greens. It's going to be an active debate on the left.
Yeah, well, I mean, we would probably work with George Galloway in the ADF, because he's got a lot of
sound some stuff.
So we have approached him as well to come and join our group, but he's so far. He said he would work with us. And there's other parties that do work with us, but they don't want to be a formal alliance or formal agreement.
The Scottish Libertarian Party.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've kind of been fairly helpful to them, because we don't retweet their tweets, and we've tried. But
they're not actually standing candidates. That's a problem for Tam. When I was in when I was in Dubai, the Scottish Libertarian Party was started at the website, but they weren't standing candidates, and we got them to stand candidates, and it was moving as a political entity, and it was increasing. We're increasing the number of people standing for it, and then because Tam and people who are on the anarcho-capitalist right wanted to make it a sort of pressure group and didn't think they could win, meant that they didn't want to stand any candidates, and this is the problem with with just now.
that's what
They're basically said we're not going to win, so we're not standing candidates. So it's I don't think it's the right way to do it, and it's not the way that it started off. And
yeah, well, it can be quite a lot of money to put up candidates, particularly
yeah, well, that's what he says as well.
It's a lot of money, so you need to think carefully about who you're going to go for and who you should go against. Craig Houston, I don't think we wouldn't stand against him because we support his.
What he's saying.
Well, we support a lot of what he says, yeah. So I'd like to give him the best chance.
Well, Hunt's not there. Hunt's just got he stepped down with Nippy.
Something him against him before him or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd like to see Craig get into this parliament if possible.
Yeah. I mean, well, I think 5% isn't it about 5% of the vote actually gets elected.
Yeah, they're on the list.
So why are you here today?
Well, supporting Jim's campaign. I've got a friend who's incarcerated at the moment, and I was a witness to some of the events he was incarcerated for. I was not allowed to be there. He was not allowed to be any witnesses on his side. Whereas, and the accusers were not really allowed any cross-examination against them in case their feelings were hurt.
What? So this is not a justice system, this is
Absolutely
a social
not.
justice system,
No,
which is based on Marx. This is obviously so very that with Alex Salmon and the fact that he was framed by these individuals
Well, that's right.
as well.
I mean, I must admit, I draw parallels with the Alex Salmon case because my friend made a speech on the steps of Butte House during the COVID lockdown. It was an excellent speech and delivered it particularly well, but the words were fantastic. And then the next day, all over the papers, Sturgeon was raging. And she obviously has slightly form for trying to find witnesses to
finger people.
to bank people up. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's involved in this particular case. So it's an absolute disgrace. And a lot of these slightly tenuous accusations to be made against him have all been jumped out of all proportion, and he's in there with a whole way forward.
What? What?
Apparently so, yeah, as far as I know.
Jesus.
So there's no hope at the moment for him. But this campaign is to raise awareness.
Did they murder somebody?
No. It's alleged sexual offences, which was two long-term partners, I think, were part of it. And so we don't. It's nonsense, basically. Nonsense, but there's not been given a fair trial, which is the main thing.
Wow.
We just want people to be given a fair trial in the Jim's campaign, and they're not getting a fair trial. They're not allowed to call witnesses. They're not allowed to cross-examine accusers.
Wow.
And there's hundreds of us here, hundreds of us in the same situation.
Wow.
With family members, children, partners, grandchildren locked up, incarcerated at the moment in Scotland, clogging up the prisons. And meanwhile, we've got other issues in the country which are not being dealt with, the two-tier justice system. So yeah, that's where we're at. That's why we're here to support these great people who are doing a fantastic job of raising awareness, and I wish them all the best.
And I noticed that apart from us, that no other media was really here, apart from Craig Houston, maybe a couple of other documentary, but no media's here.
No, not at all. No.
So we've got obviously a complicit media, which I obviously take to task.
100%. Well done, you. No, you're doing a great job. No, they need it. They need it. They're an absolute disgrace. You know, they pick and choose, cherry pick what they want to report on. Nothing ever gets fixed. Everything's broken. And the journalists, the media are not. Capture the real story. What's happening?
Like a velociraptor, aren't I? You're having a laugh here, chasing Sarvar up the road.
Well, yeah.
But it was quite interesting, very simple questions, and I wouldn't have been half as hard had he been a bit nicer. Just asked the question. I wouldn't have said anything, but obviously he didn't want to do that and didn't want to be gracious, so he gets slaughtered, and we'll probably get more slaughtered. There's a lot of stuff that's coming out just now about the Sarwars and the corruption. I don't know if you saw the thing about the £5,000 for bribing another candidate in his constituency. You need to look at the stuff on the guerillatvchannel and where we see it and have a look. There's a lot of stuff coming out about him. I've got another one coming out soon about the criminality of the Sarwars as well.
Right.
Is there anything else you want to say, Ken?
No, well, good. Just we need all the support we can get to get on the right side of all the issues that are out there. So anybody wants to join the ADF, give us a shout. website is edfparty.uk.
So Alliance for Democracy and Freedom. So you just go on the website.
edfparty.uk, and if you want, I'm Ken J.L. Thomson on Twitter. You can contact me there. And we'll have all the support we can get.
Yeah. Well, we'll get you on for a 3-hour interview coming
No
up
problem.
for that. We'll get Dr.
Tech Kong.
That's a great name. It's absolutely brilliant name. And he seems like really nice. I spoke to him, and I just haven't got round to him because I was going to do an interview before the last election. I didn't think it was going to be worthwhile for him because I think on the run up to this election it's probably going to be beneficial for him. There's a greater chance because of the proportional representation that smaller parties might get elected, and the amount of dough balls we've got so far is just it's staggering. So we get rid of a few of them.
Yeah, brilliant.
Ken,
Okay.
pleasure. Thanks very much.
Thank
My
you.
baby gorillas.
Cheers.